Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Lincoln, Alabama on the Talladega Superspeedway. Today, the stars and cars of the International IndyCar League will produce us a very unique show. Hello everyone, my name is Sebastien and I will be your host tonight, or today, or this morning on the Velocity Online Racing channel, and accompanied with me someone who I'm working with for the first time. It's Brashear. Hello Caleb, how's it going?
It is going great. We're out here at Talladega. It's Dega, baby. With the IndyCars, it's going to be a great spectacle that we have here today.
Yeah, quite a different beast than when we're seeing the stock cars getting through this high-banked racing track. This is season number 30 of this league, and we are already gearing up for this race. So we'll be bringing you the starting grid for today's race, brought to you by Florida Urgent Rescue. David Strid and Mike West will start on the front row, number 48 and 69. Here they'll have in their mirrors in the second row, Dan Ench and Katie Pollock. In the third row, we'll have the Auto Motorsports racing car of Toby Deck and Callum Ford in his number 86 machine. The fourth row will be composed of Kyle Greck and John Christensen. John Christensen being the leader of the championship. They'll have in the mirrors the fifth row of Jason Lowe and Team Watson Racing's very own Matthias Strauss. In the sixth row, we'll have Mike Jensen in number 55 racing car and Stefan Buick in his number 77. On the seventh row, we have Danny Olt and Rick Lovison. And that will be it for your starting grid. So 14 cars today, Caleb. And Talladega in stock cars is like you're bumping, you're drafting. But on Indy cars, it's kind of different, isn't it?
Yeah, you really can't bump draft any of these things unless you want to break off a front end plane there. But it's going to be a lot more about what we see kind of with the next gen cars. It'll be a massive fuel save race for a majority of the Indy cars around here. You'll see a lot of the hybrid deploy if they want to try to get a pass on the outside. You'll see them get a really big run up and try to get around the car in front using the hybrid. That is something new that we're going to see here around Talladega. We haven't had too many pack races ever since they introduced it to the IndyCar a couple seasons ago. So this will be a first-time experience for many of these drivers, as well as us and the rest of the IndyCar community. Exactly. It'll be a first-time experience for all of us.
You are absolutely right bringing the hybrid. I think this is the first time I'm seeing a Talladega race with IndyCars with hybrid. Just a reminder for the driver standings after sixth race. As I said, John Christensen with 401 points is leading the championship. Second to him will be David Strid. He's 26 points back. 14 points behind David is Jason Lowe. 15 points behind Jason is Mike West, and Dan Ench completes the top 5, 64 points behind the championship leader. As we are coming into the final few corners, I don't know if we have the race winner, last race winner in this grid, because in this case he would have to be starting in the final position. 14 cars starting today, and already Caleb, I see Mike West, Toby Dick, and Danny Olt in the pits.
Yeah, that's typically what you always see at these big pack races at Talladega. They're choosing to play it safe here early on. They know that a crash is possible, but they're choosing to start from the pits. They're going to play it safe here early on.
And as you said, the pace car is in the pits and will be coming for the green flag of round 7 of the International IndyCar League, season number 30. We are green at Talladega.
Yeah, David Strid gets out to a massive lead, but that gap will immediately come back down. It's right behind Katie Pollock. Coming to the outside, gets a run around the third lane down the backstretch.
Yeah, we're already like two lanes in this track. 72 laps, Caleb. But reminder, we are on 55% tank fuel cells. So we'll have, I think, like 3 to 4 pit stops probably. This will be interesting.
Typically a fuel stint around here when you're full push is about 13 to 14 laps. You won't see them do that this early on. You'll see that a lot of the drivers shift back into map 5 early on. So they could possibly extend that to 16 or 17 or even possibly 18 laps if they're really saving back there. So it all is a giant part of strategy and how much they want to save fuel early on. And you immediately see K.A. Polak immediately dump back into the slipstream of Callum Ford right in front. So that's what you're seeing from this entire pack. They're playing it safe right now, and then once we get about 10 laps to go is go time.
So, if you were in this guy's place, where would you want to be? Would you want to be at the back of the pack right now, or do you want to be near the front? I mean, I guess you would want to be first because you'll be consuming a lot of fuel, but...
Typically, if I was in this situation, the best prime place, especially this early on, and I know I'm going to have to save fuel, is typically around the third or fourth row back, because that's when you get the best fuel mileage. Typically, you get a lot more, obviously with the more cars in front of you, you're going to save a lot more fuel, and you're able to keep up much easier in the draft. So typically about the third or fourth row back is where I'd want to be in these early stages.
Yeah, and meanwhile for the free car that's starting from the pits, they will have to pray the caution comes soon, because if it doesn't, Caleb, they're in big trouble.
Yeah, they are indeed, and they're already about over 3 seconds back of the rest of the field, so they are going to have to play some catch-up if they want to try to get back together to the front of the field. And the only way they could do that by themselves is swap drafting, but even with 2 cars around Talladega, it is not very easy to catch up a giant pack like that.
All right, then we have actually, we had a second lane on the outside with Carl Grech and I think that's Ford actually, or no, that's Jensen, number 55 Jensen. Both of them working together trying to slingshot in front of the field, but Jensen decided to go back into the inside, leaving Grech all alone on the outside.
Yeah, and he's trying to get overtake around the outside, and he's going 2x2, but he doesn't really have help. There is a little bit of, while they can't bump draft in these cars, there is a little bit, if you link up with a car on the outside, you are able to kind of work together and just proceed forward, and big swap there from the outside to the inside. He looks up the inside.
Oh, that's below the yellow line, isn't it?
That he did go below the yellow. He gives the position back before they get into turn 1, but that was getting very dicey down the front stretch.
Yeah, that was a code brown for Carl Grech, and he's going around the outside of Buick.
Yeah, he looks around the outside. He is clear, but doesn't come back down until now, until they get into turn number 3, and he assumes the lead for now.
That will be a lead point, if I'm not mistaken, so that will be very important. And look at this, fighting like this, they create quite a bit of a gap, 4/10 of a gap in front of the pack. I mean, they're going to get caught, but that's very good information to have, Caleb.
Yeah, they want to typically just try to build a gap as much as possible. They want to start swap drafting, and that's what you really want to do if you're kind of stuck out in the lead. Everybody else is kind of riding that map 5. Oh, they get really close together there, but they typically just want to ride map 5 for the majority of this race until they get to their last fuel stump.
So this is the move he made. So he's still on the outside. He's barely clear. So and we'll see again. He will, I think, like go hard to the left at the exit of turn 4 here, Caleb. Yeah, wow. You're 3 lanes down. And slow-mo here. Oh, that was close. That was close.
A little too close for comfort, we'll say. But both of it, no harm, no foul. Both cars are still out on track, and they still got a long race ahead of them. So they got to keep, their heads on a swivel at all times, especially with how fast they're going. This isn't, typically with the stock cars around NASCAR, they're only going about 200 miles an hour at most around here. These guys are going to get upwards of speeds of sometimes 250 and even sometimes 260 if they get a great run around here. So a lot could go wrong just by one simple mistakes, but everybody else is still out on track. So we'll see who prevails as we have a little bit of shuffling up towards the front.
And good news for Toby Deck and Mike West. Both of these two have joined back to the pack. They're now they managed to work. They managed to get back to that 3-second gap they had to the front to the main pack, and that is very good news for them. But yeah, they now can save fuel now, Caleb.
Yeah, and they will be a little bit worse off, but they are able to throw in a map 5, and possibly they're able to come down the same lap as maybe the guys that have been shuffling up towards the front. They're going to be a little bit worse off of fuel. Maybe if they ride map 5 for the rest of the stint, they're able to make the same lap numbers. So it's definitely an ideal situation. There's a lot of shuffling in the mid-pack going on, and meanwhile, we possibly have a switch of position. We got a new face.
And here he goes. Noof.
That's Mike West on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, he's not resting. He just came back from the back of the field even further, and he's like, you know what? I want to lead. As qualified second. It wasn't just for show. And he's right there, down to second now. This is interesting to see, because him and Talladega, who just shot from very far back, from 4 seconds behind the pack, they're now now the front of the main pack. So this is interesting.
Yeah, he's trying to get to the bottom there. He tried to look up the inside, but not able to quite get the job done. But one thing we gotta consider is that fuel stints they're almost on a dry tank right now, as you see the leaders.
Oh, and someone's spinning
right now.
Someone's spinning. That's a Buick who led a lot of this race, and that will be perfect time, as we'll see first how the pit will go. But like pitting on your own, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad, pitting on your own.
Yeah, he'll be left out to dry, at least on his outlap. Thankfully, he won't be out there too long. He's not on a massive disadvantage, but he will lose possibly a couple of seconds under pit lane just by being the only one to come down pit road that time.
And that would be perfect to have a sponsor read from the sponsor of the International IndyCar League, Florida Urgent Rescue. Their mission is to save animals from kill shelters and other urgent situations. They take on tough cases, including dogs who have been hit by cars, who have gunshot wounds, embedded collars, cancerous tumors, and other major medical problems. They rescue seniors, pregnant mamas, and mamas with litters. They focus primarily on rural shelters with limited resources, and they try to help the animals who need the most help. You can find them online on Florida Urgent Rescue, or in lower cases, allattached.org. I repeat, this is www.floridaurgentrescue, all lower cases, allattached.org. As we're coming to a second. That was close between Mike West and I think that was his partner in crime, Talladega here, Caleb.
Yeah, they came right on cue, lap 13. That's typically how much they're able to stretch these fuel runs with the 55% fuel cell limit. And right on cue, 13 laps full push. They come down pit lane. They're going to top up on some fuel. It is also a question whether or not they choose to take tires or not. Tires don't really wear around here, but it seems as though they do take tires.
Oh.
Talladega is slow off pit lane.
Yeah, does he have a penalty? That's a penalty. He was probably too fast entering pit road. That is a big blow to Talladega and Mike West.
Yes, it is, and Mike West coming out pit lane now. He will be alone for at least the foreseeable couple of laps here. Meanwhile, we'll probably see a few more cars come down pit lane within this lap here. A large portion of them is still out on track. So this should be interesting who prevails on the pit lane cycle here.
Yeah, as we see, not 15 out of 72 here at the Talladega Superspeedway. Jason Lowe is leading, as we have now another car pulling into the pits. That's Kyle Gregg, who also led a bit and was in that little show earlier. 55 miles per hour. This is the standard pit lane speed. And here, Caleb, you're just slow and you're like, oh, I want to get through as quickly as possible here.
Yeah, but this is where the time gained is gained, but also lost here. Pit lane here, especially with how many pit stops that they're going to have to do here today. This is where you make up all your time. And just briefly looking at Kyle Gregg, he seems to have only taken fuel only that time by. So he should be ahead of quite a bit of fuel here.
Massive wave. Only Ench and Strauss haven't pitted. With also David Strid. We have 2, 4, 5 cars here in the pits. This is the pit convention here. I've never seen so many cars on pit road yet.
Yeah, it's getting a bit dicey down on pit road. Will be interesting who takes tires and who just takes fuel. I see that Jason
Oh,
Lowe, his car's up on jacks. John
yeah.
Christensen is also up on jacks. So quite a bit of these guys are taking tires. You do have unlimited sets here, but they are choosing to take tires and not just fuel.
That is interesting. I don't think there's like a gap between tire wear. I've never seen tire wear really affect.
It typically is slower to take tires around here. It's slightly slower. When you have a fuel tank, it is about 15 gallons is equal to how long it takes tires. Obviously, that depends on how far you get on your pit box here. So with them having about 11 gallons, slightly shy of 11 gallons, it is faster to just take tires, but you're obviously going to be a little worse for wear over the course of that second stint.
As we have the last three who had yet to pit, and they're coming join back, and they're going to jump very far back from the main pack. Main pack actually did lose a bit of people here. The whole grid is now scattered through the 2.66 miles of the Talladega Superspeedway.
Yes, it is indeed, and Kaylee Polak is at the front, so is Jason Lowe. He's a multi-time winner here. He's actually, out of all the times that the series has gone here, he's actually won here 3 times, so he's looking to make it his 4th, and if he does win here today, it will be 4 Talladega wins in a row for him. He's won the last 2, so it will be interesting to see if he's able to make it a 3-peat.
Only time will tell. Lap 19 out of 72. We are on board with Lowe. Well, we were on board with Lowe. Now we're going to a cinematic shot. And now gently behind Katie Pollack. And now it will be very interesting to see again if Obidek and Lovison will try to pull back to the field. They're together, 10th and 11th, only 1/10 separating the pair. And they will try to do what Toby did with West. That penalty really hurting Toby Deck.
Yeah, it is. It just absolutely unfortunate there to get a penalty coming down pit road. It's such an easy mistake to make, but it's very it costs you a lot of time in the long run. So you just gotta be careful every single time you come down pit lane, and just make sure you hit all your marks, whether it be slowing down or making sure you get in your pit box right. To just hit all your marks and make sure you don't make a mistake under pit lane.
Speaking about mistakes on pit lane, I think Matthias Strauss had a big mistake entering pit lane because now he's a lap down the number 28 Team Monster Racing car. We have a replay, so let's see what happened to Matthias Strauss entering pit road. He was in the free that pit at the very last moment in lap 18 or 17, I think it was. Oh, that's a bit quick, isn't it, Matthias?
It's a little bit quick there. Definitely a little bit quick. Just a lockup of the front tires and possibly definitely at least a speeding penalty there.
Because these cars on oval configuration, they're not easy to slow down. If you're really hard on the brake, they will have a nasty tendency to just go into the wall because there are no braking straights.
Yes, it is indeed, and the lucky part with Matthias, he actually technically, by definition, has unlapped himself. He's actually the lead car of the pack, but he is a lap down, so if a caution does come out, he will be put back on the lead lap. It's just a matter of if that caution does come out, and if we get to the next fuel cycle or not.
Yeah, and looking at how they all single file up there, Caleb, I doubt we're going to get a caution well before it's game time in the final stint.
Yeah, and everybody's just playing it safe. You'll see that until, I'm going to say about 15 laps ago is when you'll start to see the moves for the lead, and that's when you'll start to see the classic Talladega 3-wide moments that we always see here over in the stock car side. You'll see that here in the IndyCar side, but it'll be a lot closer and a lot faster, so it'll be interesting by the time we get to about 10 laps to go.
Yeah, again, as you say, they can reach 250 miles per hour. Like for European folks, that's like nearly 400 clicks. I think we actually, from experience, I think we reached 400 clicks when the Velocity Online Racing Series came to the Talladega Superspeedway, which is surprisingly offers for IndyCars quite a lot of caution-free race.
Yeah, you typically always see that with super speedways, any track that the IndyCar Series goes here, because everybody just wants to play it safe. They know if a wreck happens, well, it's not like typically on ovals where maybe 2 or 3 cars get involved. It usually is what we call the big one, and it takes out the majority of the field. So all these guys, especially considering that they have a number of pit stops ahead of them, are just going to play it safe for a large portion of this race until the very end.
Exactly, lap 24. Now lap 25 out of 72 here at Talladega Superspeedway. We have the main pack going from Katie Pollock to approximately Dan Ench. As we see people pitting already. That would be the number 77 of Buick. That's quite early for a pit stop, don't you think?
It is quite early. That equals out to about 12 laps a stint. That's going to be significantly shorter than the guys that were able to extend their fuel cycles to 15 or even 16 laps here. So he is massively off strategy at this point, and that's honestly going to hurt him in the end. He's going to have to, I think that's even to a point where he's going to have to take a splash over everybody else at the end of this run. So that is really going to hurt him pitting that early.
Of course, we never saw Indy cars at Talladega in real life. We came close to see that. I think it was in 1979, where Talladega was actually in the schedule for the USAC IndyCar Series, but it got scrapped with a lot of the USAC IndyCar schedule. Then USAC pretty much went under and only sanctioned the Indy 500 for the foreseeable future during the era of Championship Auto Racing Team. That's it for your little story time for Talladega. We're still single file with Matthias Strauss not leading the race, but still leading the pack as he is nearly a lap down the Swede from Team Watson Racing.
Yeah, he is. He's just trying to, it looks like he's just taking the optimal line. You see him kind of opening it up on exit. You typically always see the cars, even in the stock car side, just kind of hold that bottom there. But he is opening it up on corner exit and just kind of riding as fast as he can there, just trying to carry as much speed as possible because, well, he knows he's at a disadvantage over everybody else, and he's going to, hard into the wall behind him. As Jason Lowe getting hard into the wall.
Yeah. That was a big hit, so I wonder if there was some body damage to the 004 of Jason Lowe. And body damage on this IndyCar. On any track, it's super deadly, but at Talladega, it's pretty much a death sentence.
Yeah, you're going to be down in miles an hour. Typically, you're down on aerodynamics because the way he hit that car, that's going to be at least some side pod damage if he did get any damage.
I think he got lucky there because you saw the suspension growing back up. Ooh.
iRacing gods taketh and they giveth there. So Jason Lowe seems to be very, very lucky. He didn't take much damage, or if any damage at all there.
As I think Mike West actually went to the pit while we were on replay. Number 69. As we are now close to another, yes, he is the independent 69 Honda.
The pack, he should be coming out right in front of this pack. He's about, I want to say, straight away in front of these guys. So they will catch him, but the pit cycle is right around the corner. So you'll see many of these drivers actually come down pit lane, and he's going to be, again, at that disadvantage of just being the only car out there. He'll be a little bit slower just being by himself. So the entire pack should catch him if they stay out there for another couple laps.
Yeah, and as we're talking, this pack is now being led by Toby Deck, who recently pitted, number 83. So now he'll be leading. He pitted recently, so that will be huge for Matthias Strauss. Matthias going to be resting, and I'm Chady Pollock. I'm very happy having these 2 lap cars right in front of me, pushing the air in front of me.
Yeah, just better fuel mileage at the end of the day, and that's all you really want in these super speedway races. Just get as much fuel mileage as possible. She still, actually, as she comes out pit road now, right in front, and is Matthias Strauss.
Oh!
I don't believe they touched.
They're nearly touched, but I think they're fine.
There's a bit of a lockup there, and a new pair of drawers for both of them, we'll say.
Yeah. Thank God we're not on low model ultimate or automobile statue, because that would have been a flat tires on all 4 of these Firestones.
Yes, it would indeed. Majority of the field seems to be spread out at the moment. Matthias Strauss comes out right in front of Chady Pollock. Of course, he is a lap down from the field. You see him come out pit lane, and one thing that's interesting around Talladega is that if you're confident enough, big contact.
Oh, and that would be an unsafe pit entry for Mike Jensen, I think, because he went outside of the pit lane, then came back. So that's probably a black flag for the number 55. So what happened there? We're with Mike Jensen, the number 55 car. Some argy-bargy there in the pit road entry. Oh, that was the green car there who came in too hot and slammed it. That was Carl Grech. And we talked about it earlier. Yeah, you slam on the brakes, you lock them up, and then you're just a passenger here. Wow, he was too hot through there, Caleb.
Very, very hot indeed, and just you can see he's full locked just to get out of the way of everybody else, and it's just there's nothing you can do at that point once you lock up those fronts.
We nearly saw a pileup at the entry of the Talladega Superspeedway pit entry. No black flags for Mike, and I guess no black flags for Carl. So that's a miracle that there was no penalties there, considering how chaotic this was. David Strait and Dan Enge, Caleb. It's again these two. They managed to stretch their stint last time, and now they're doing it again.
Yeah, and that's just ultimately going to benefit them in the end. Just one, you're able to take a shorter fuel stop at the end, and with that's just going to help every little bit. Just get the every second you can under the pit cycle and just stay out as long as possible. And that's what you're seeing them do here. And that's the ultimate goal, is just make your fuel stay as long as possible. That way, at the last stop, you don't have to take as much fuel, and then your pit stop could be ever so slightly shorter than everybody else.
Because this is the very interesting thing. We are on lap 35. This is only the next lap where we're going to have we're going to be at halfway through the race. So this is going to be very interesting, so that you will have to take into account, Caleb, like all of these guys will have to do at least a small splash and go pit stops, and that may as well decide the fate of this race.
Yeah, and the splash and go is just, it could be, a detriment at most of the places. I think they're going to do about 4 pit stops total, so 5 stints each, and if they're able to extend any of their stops by even just 1 lap, that's going to be a huge benefit towards them over the course of this long run. And that's good, 13 laps versus 16 laps. That's that is a massive difference once it's we get to about 10 laps to go.
Exactly, as we saw 2 cars rocking up to the front. That was Jason Lowe and Matthias Strauss. Both of these guys lap down and waiting for the caution. Meanwhile, John Christensen, as we saw on board, at 245 miles per hour, has now taken the lead. The championship leader has decided to show up, Caleb.
Yes, he has, and he is just kind of, riding in that third line with the 2 lap cars in front. Jason Lowe leading this pack. Of course, he's won here multiple times in the past here in this league, but he is leading the pack, but he is effectively a lap down due to that incident we saw earlier on pit road. Exactly.
We are coming to lap 37. We're now entering the second half of this 7th race in season number 30 of the International IndyCar League. And since you are so well here at the Velocity Online Racing broadcast channel, we'll fill you in on what's coming. Next week, 9th of May, we'll have the VR Indy Next at the Indianapolis Oval, at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That will be at 1700 hours in Central European time. Then later that same day at 9 p.m. this will be the road course for the iRacing Indy Next series. You'll find me in the booth with Jack James, if it's not again at Brands Hatch. Then May 10th, the next day, we'll be back in the International IndyCar League at Phoenix. This will be quite a good race because Phoenix is actually quite a decent oval. We saw it in real life. On May 30th, we'll be back for the iRacing Indy Next series. It'll be at Detroit Belle Isle at 9 p.m. And the following week, June 6th, already June 6th, D-Day, that will be the iRacing Indy Next series, this time at Gateway, again at 9 p.m. That is the schedule for the upcoming races broadcasting on the Velocity Online Racing channel. Top 5 are the lead pack with John Christensen, Katie Pollack, Mike West, Mike Jensen, and David Strid. Then we have this pack, as we say in cycling, the pursuit with Carl Grech, Toby Deck, and Callum Ford. All these three chasing the lead pack. And then we have the back markers with Loveson 10 seconds behind. Then, and already pitting, that's Carl Grech, I think. No, that's Toby Dex. Sorry for that. Pitting on his own. That's again. We sound like a broken record, but like for Toby, it's not he's been on the back foot ever since the beginning of the race, Caleb.
Yeah, just pitting that early, you could see how much it's affected his race here today. He is still ahead of the majority of the field. He's kind of riding around in that 8th place position at the beginning of his pit stop. So he is riding around midfield, so it isn't absolutely worse off. It could be, it could be multiple laps down, but still he's not optimizing his fuel strat at the moment. And good to mention that he started from the pit lane, managed to get back onto the lead pack, but suddenly got a speeding penalty on his first stop, and ever since now he's been chasing that lead pack. Christensen still leading that lead pack, as we say, but he still has the 2 cars of Matthias Struss and Jason Lowe pulling him along, allowing him to fuel save the championship leader from Velocity Online Racing. I'm sure Mr. Julian Alton in our ears is pretty happy seeing one of his cars in the lead again. I'm pretty sure. Well, if I ask him why they put in that Altona Autosport car, he's going to say jet fuel. Yeah, and this is just being, he's loving what is happening right in front of him. Matthias Strauss and Jason Lowe just kind of riding that bottom lane. They're not really swap drafting, but they are just kind of giving him a buffer of just being able to save fuel as much as possible, be able to ride in that map 5, and just kind of, ride as long as possible on these fuel stints here. We saw another car go down pit lane. I wasn't able to catch who that was.
I think that's Callum Ford. No, Mike West. Mike West is in the pits. I saw Callum go down the order. I thought it was him. Mike West, again, still taking the hits from him, having to go back up the field, and he'll be sliding into his pit box. I don't see if his car is up on the jacks. Probably not.
That was way too short to take tires there. He is opting for fuel only in these stints here, so he is taking a bit of a strategy call just to save a few seconds in the pit box itself. We'll see if that hurts him on pit exit here, though. He is very, very quick, but we'll see how he is when the fuel cycle comes to an end here.
If he manages to get back into this pack here, he'll be golden. Well, let's see. Carl Grech with his buddy Dan Ench, or no, Callum Ford again. I'm not having a good day with calling the right names. And that's not what you want to see when you're 2 and you're just fighting for a position, and you're like, come on, let's work together. And no, Carl is pitting, so all of that for naught.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he slows it down. Like, yeah, that was close.
Very close indeed, but no harm, no foul there. He is still able to go forward with no black flags this time, so all is good on his end. We are looking on the battle for the lead, or the leading group here. They should be able to make their pit stops in a few laps' time.
Interesting of John Christensen going high, probably to avoid the pair of lap cars in front of them pitting. That'll be Jason Lowe and Matthias Strauss. That means that Katie Pollock is now back in the lead of this race. She led earlier today. From the Czech Republic, 14 laps led today. I think one of the highest amounts of lap led we've seen today from Katie Pollock.
Yeah, she's leading right now, but it should come to the pit cycle. It looked like a little bit of a bottle from David Strade there. Looked like he was going to come down pit road, but the lead four still out there. They have been out there for quite a bit at this point, but they should come in within the next 1 and 2 laps. I think the max we've seen on a fuel cycle here today is 16 laps, so it'll be very, very close whether or not they're able to go another lap, but I reckon these top 4 are going to come down this lap.
Very interesting of Katie Pollock. She actually pulled this length to 17 laps here, Caleb, so that will be very interesting. And yeah, she's probably going to be pitting as we see the other cars. Yeah, the other cars went high. Can she slow it down? Oh, that's fast, that's fast! Ah, that's probably black flag! Ouch!
It does appear to be a black flag for
Katie Pollock,
is. So, absolutely unfortunate there, leading the majority of this race so far, being up towards the front. And just making a simple lockup coming down pit lane is just absolutely heartbreaking there.
Commentators curse on Katie Pollock. We were saying how good she was doing out there, and then sadly she went and she couldn't slow the car down for pit entry. This is a very tricky pit entry.
It seems so easy being a straight line braking zone, but it's so easy to make a mistake because sometimes, at least in my case, it's a lot of times drivers are overconfident because it is a straight line braking zone. But if you have even the slightest bit of wheel angle in the car, it will lock up the front end. So, and then once you lock up the front end, it's pretty much done from there. So that's what we've seen from multiple drivers today, and just making a simple lockup coming to the pit lane and just taking a penalty or possibly getting into an incident within our car there.
Exactly, as Mike Jensen and John Christensen are coming out of the pits, and that is David Strade on his own in the lead of this race. David Strade still managing to get that 1 or 2 laps fuel more than his competitors, which will probably pay dividends for number 48 later to this race. We are now 22 laps from the end of this race.
Yeah, he should be coming down this time by. He's got a little bit of a buffer in front. Yes, he does come down this time by. Let's see if he's clean. Looks very nice and tidy there. Yeah. No problems at all.
Crisp pit entry for David Strade. As we'll be entering the final 2 stints of this race. We'll have a full stint coming up, and then we'll have a shorter final stint. And Caleb, I wouldn't be surprised if it starts hitting go, oh, that was very aggressive entry into this pit box for David Strade, but he made it.
Yeah, and basically, if my math is correct, if you pitted at some time after lap 46, you're basically full push at this point. You're able to just make it on one more stop, but obviously the later you pit right now to just take your final stop, the less fuel you'll have to put in to make it to the end. So that's basically the advantage of the game of staying out at this point if you pit it after lap 46. So we will see how that all plays out and how those gaps. But the field is fairly spread out at the moment from all those pit cycles.
Exactly. Barely any lead. Mike Jensen, John Christensen, and David Strid are now the only racers in the lead pack. 3 seconds behind is Toby Deck and Mike West. Well, they finally found each other again after all this time in the race.
Yes, they do indeed. And the front pack kind of, again, just letting the lap cars do their thing is still Jason Lowe and Matthias Strauss kind of leading the lead pack, but they're a lap down, so they're just giving all the benefits to the drivers of Mike Jensen, David Strid, and John Christensen to just save as much fuel as much as possible. You are seeing a bit of a too wide moment with still one to go, one pit stop to go. He is trying to rock that high line, but it doesn't seem to be working at the moment with no help there.
He's on his own, but David Strid is going to the offensive here with 19 laps to go now. This will start to heat up slowly and surely. All of this for a few laps of pure attack from our drivers here in the International IndyCar League. This is race 7 of season 30 season. This league is on. That's a whole lot.
Well, very long time this series has been going on. 30 seasons, especially on iRacing, is very impressive for a league like this keep going. And 30 seasons is very impressive.
Mike Jensen freezing the 250 mile/hour barrier there. Still he's
still being patient at the moment. You can still see he's being patient with the lead, just trying to stay in that 5 and just try to still save as much as fuel as possible. That way he doesn't have to take as much fuel when the pit cycle comes around.
Yeah, as we saw an aerial shot, it's actually quite dark here at the Talladega Superspeedway. We don't have lights, but thankfully this race should be done before night falls on this Superspeedway. Talladega nights would be quite the experience, wouldn't you think? As we see, Strid going for it for the lead.
He looks for it on the outside. Does have it momentarily, but he doesn't have any help on the bottom. Yeah. Mike Jensen's still in the draft.
This will be very interesting if it keeps like that. We have our top 3. At what point, what will these 2 lap cars will play if it keeps going like that, Caleb? If we're going to the end of the race and we still have these 2 lap cars in front of the top 3, like what is going to be the playbook with that for our leaders?
Well, obviously it's going to be as try to get as big of a run as you can, as we actually see David Strid going to the front of the pack here. So he has opted to just kind of lead this thing and try to separate himself.
Yeah, because now he's in between the 2 lap cars of Matthias Strauss and Jason Lowe. That would be a very good situation, actually, Caleb. Like if you're in the final few laps and you have like 2 lap cars right behind you, that's quite a buffer to have.
Yes, it would indeed. Kind of how we saw at what we didn't see at the Indy 500 last year with Alex Palou having the 2 lap cars in front of him, but they kind of held up Marcus Ericsson, so he was able to make that overtake. So we're kind of seeing what happens if Marcus Ericsson actually got around those 2 lap cars. The only difference is it is a lot more of a packier race here at Talladega.
Yeah. Exactly, and one final time we'll have a sponsor for today. The sponsor of this series, Florida Urgent Rescue. They are happy to present this race in this series. Their mission is to save animals. They have a very noble cause. They save animals from kill shelters and other urgent situations. They take on tough cases, including dogs who have been hit by cars, those who have gunshot wounds, those who have embedded collars, cancer tumors, and other major medical problems. They rescue seniors, pregnant mamas, and mamas with litters. They focus primarily on rural shelters with limited resources, and they try to help the animals who need the help the most. You can find them online on www.floridaurgentrescue.org. That is all lowercases, all attached. I repeat, that is www.floridaurgentrescue.org, all attached, all in lowercase. This is a very noble cause, and they are happy to present the International IndyCar League. Okay, damage with a black flag here, Caleb, as Carl Gregg is also entering the pits, as is Matthias Strauss.
We actually have a number of drivers that have back flags. There,
Oh, that's speeding, sir. That is speeding. Mike West. Oh, that's a big news. Mike West also a black flag. Wow, the pit entry at Talladega is really not merciful for drivers today, Caleb.
No, it is not, and we are on. The leaders are on lap 61, so theoretically they can pit right now, take a full tank of fuel, and make it to the end. So we should see the majority of this field come within the next 5 laps or so to take their final stop, and then that's when the gloves come off, and you'll see some argy-bargy, as we say.
Jason Lowe, he's a lap down, so that doesn't count for all leaders. He'll be entering cleanly into pit road. And now that leaves the top 3 all to the lonesome, ready to duke it out here at Talladega Superspeedway. They still have one more pit stop to do here.
Yes, they do. And David Strid kind of has led the majority of this stint here. Even with the lap cars in front, he opted to just jump out in front as early as possible. And the important thing when he did that is he was actually able to do that around the outside when he did. So it is possible to overtake around the outside. Even 2 cars, you're able to jump there. David was able to manage that. So it will be interesting how this top 3, when the go gets going, how they're able to just get around each other, whether they choose to defend the inside. Well, you're able to still overtake around the outside with the hybrid that we have here.
Indeed, the hybrid usage is going to be very important, Caleb. We haven't talked about it here, but there's no place here where you can recharge naturally with braking or lifting. You have to use the button to recharge and thus slowing down in the straight. So that will be very interesting to see where they will use that button in the final lap.
Yeah, typically the best way to deploy it is out in clean air. Once you get a run on the guy in front and you get pull out to overtake him, that's when you use the hybrid to deploy, and then you'll regen in the draft. And that's below the usage there.
He did the move under the double yellow line. That's going to be under scrutiny. That.
Yeah, bit of argy-bargy there, as we like to call it, but we'll get a shot of this.
Was post. So minor rewind, a little cassative. Maybe those who are much younger don't understand what I just said, but it used to be a thing. Strid, and he's doing the switchback, and yeah, he was under the double yellow line here, Caleb.
Yeah, and it kind of looked like he had enough room to kind of stay there. Mike Jensen actually it looked like he got out of his way, so it just kind of seemed like a reaction. Maybe he just wanted to be cautious, but he has not given that position back. But Mike Jensen deep on the brakes.
Pitting.
Pit lane.
Oh,
very close, but Mike Jensen able to get an overtake under the braking zone of the pit lane there. So these guys will only have to take a splash of around 7 laps here, and we'll see who is able to get the best off pit road. This could decide the win here.
All right, only Shell renewable fuel into the fuel cells of this IndyCar, and David Strid already coming out of the pits on the lead, and John Christensen a bit far back from the 2 leaders. 5/10s, that's still manageable for the championship leader.
Yeah, the draft here in the IndyCar extends about a second and a half, so he should be good to catch back up to the front 2 here. Meanwhile, Jason Lowe, Matthias Strauss still a lap down. They are behind them. They're a little bit outside of draft range.
Top 3 is 15 seconds clear, Caleb. That is insane at Talladega.
Yeah, and based on the number of pit stops, that's where these gaps have formed. It's never been on track. It has been under the pit cycles that we've seen here today, and just little mistakes of who is able to manage it the best, and that's what has determined like why David Strait, Mike Jensen, and John Christensen are out in front right now. They've just been able to optimize their pit cycle and just not making mistakes on their pit road.
Now, with the finale coming up to close, where would you want to be? You want to be first, second, or third in this group?
I would like to be third. I would like to be in John Christensen's place, unless the lap cars of Matthias Strauss and Jason Lowe come into the picture, because
and here comes
able
Strauss.
To get a massive run. Matthias Strauss looks to the high side. He wants to try to get back on the lead lap, as well as Jason Lowe.
Oh, that's a big block.
He tried to. It looked like Mike Jensen tried to follow the slipstream of Matthias Strauss there, but threw a block on Jason Lowe accidentally.
5 to go here at Talladega Superspeedway. Things are heating up for the finale of this race, and we'll probably go caution-free today. Wow, Matthias Strauss with the fastest lap on an average of 254 miles per hour. That is insanely fast as they're going to go 3 wide for the lead at the start-finish line. 4 to go.
They might be 3 wide to the end here. They're still 3 wide. They're very close for comfort. A little bit of argy-bargy on the high side there. John Christensen on the high side. David Strait in the middle. And then Mike Jensen on the bottom. I guarantee you that's probably how it's going to line up. Looks like John Christensen and Mike Jensen have a bit of a run on the high side, though. It looks like Mike Jensen just he can only hold the bottom and just hope that he gets the best run off turn number 4.
Jensen with the IndyRacing leg approach, hogging that bottom lane here. John Christensen is looking for an opening here on either of his 2 competitors. Going through turn 1, 3 laps to go here at Talladega Superspeedway. Christensen on the inside of Strait, and he made the pass on the side draft on the number 55, trying to go for the lead here. Maybe a bit of a push from Strait to help him. No.
It looks like just Christensen is just kind of playing it patient in that 3rd spot here. He's going to let the 2 in front of him just kind of duke it out for the lead in these last 2 laps, and he's going to possibly make his move off of turn number 4 on the final lap. And one thing to also consider, I believe that is Mike West that's out in front. He's the last car in the lead lap. That will also play a factor possibly when we get the 1 to go.
That will be a big help for any one of our. They're following the draft already. So for Jensen, that's maybe a godsend that having that lap car up ahead. Meanwhile, David Strait a bit far back. So is he planning a push? We'll be coming to the white flag. So next flag will end this race here at Talladega Superspeedway for round 7 of season 30 of the International IndyCar League. Here we go, white flag, last lap. Has anyone left in the tank? That wasn't English. My apologies. Coming up turn 2.
He throws John Christensen almost to the wall. They're making contact on the backstretch.
Christensen is up in the lead. He had the draft from the lap car. The lap car played a massive role.
Yeah, he just chose to hug the outside wall. It's getting a bit argy-bargy.
And here comes Strait on the bottom line. He's in there. He's under Christensen. He's making his move. Will he make it? Christensen ahead. And I think it's John. 2,000ths of a second. He made it and he crashed. After that, what a win from John Christensen. He held it. Insane, Caleb.
That is insane here. Only a couple thousandths of a second separating them.
So this is coming out of turn 2. So a bit of luck for John. I think he used a hybrid there, so he could get on the outside here, and he had the perfect help just ahead. And look at the number 48 of Strait here, Caleb. Oh wow, how did it not wreck here?
A bit of iRacing luck there. Did not take out that entire field, but look at this finish here. Look how close it is.
Wow.
Can't even tell.
Like it's, you know how in the opening of Cars, like they're like looking at it. I think it's probably like the race officials right after that, because I nearly thought they crossed the line at the same time, but no. I think you can see John slightly being ahead as that's, you barely can see it, Caleb. You barely can see it. That's
Barely.
insane. What a win for John Christensen. I will be bringing you the results table for this race, and it's a Chevrolet 1-2-3-4 with John Christensen extending his lead in the drivers' championship with a win here at Talladega. He has edged on David Stewart by 0.02 of a second. Mike Jensen will come home in third. Carl Gregg had an up and down race, just like Mike West, and they'll end up fourth and fifth. Despite having a black flag and going through a lot of ordeals, Matthias Strauss still brings home an honest sixth position. He is finishing in front of his partner in crime of this race, which would be Jason Lowe. Callum Ford, Katie Pollack, and Toby Degg. The unfortunate incident in pit lane finished 8th, 9th, and 10th. Rick Lovison finished in 11th in front of Dan Ench, and Stefan Brink and Danny Old finished 13th and 14th. I think they did not finish this race here. Caleb, wow, what a race! What a race!
Absolutely incredible race. You always get that here at the super speedways at Talladega. It's always a bit of fuel safe at the beginning, and it's interesting to see who's able to optimize their fuel strats, their fuel cycles. But once it gets about 10 laps to go, that's when they all dial it up, and that's what we got there on that last fuel stint between the top three.
Yeah, and I think we. Julian read into my mind, because I was going to ask if we can have Wynn's interview, and I'd gladly have John Christensen in the commentary booth. John, this is Sebastien Kinder in the commentary booth. Do you have a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Man, that was one of the craziest finale we saw at Talladega Superspeedway here on the Velocity Online Racing broadcast channel. Talk us through your mindset as you're taking all those final few laps and you're edging David Strid by 0.02 of a second.
Well, basically, I spent most of the race just kind of riding. That's kind of what you mainly do at Talladega, and I was just kind of like hoping people would start falling out of it, so there's less people to fight with at the end. Luckily, it got down to just 3 people, and I was very much looking for that middle lane, and whenever it was going to open, I was going to go for it, and it kind of opened up, and being in the middle on a track like Talladega or Daytona is just so overpowered. And then I dropped down to 5th, dumped my hybrid at the end, and it worked out.
Yeah, because that's what we saw. I think it was in turn 2, where you dumped your hybrid to get on the outside of the leader, which was Mike Jensen, and you had a bit of a help because you had a lap car who was on the top lane in the backstretch, and it helped you with a bit of drafting help.
Yeah, that definitely helped. I wasn't sure which lane he was going to be in. There was a little while where he was like clearing me just because I didn't get the help on the inside, but then it came on the outside. He tried to cover it off, but I was already there, and I wasn't gonna. You don't lift on the final lap of these tracks, and I'm so happy that it worked out in the end.
So we have also Caleb Brashear alongside us. So Caleb, do you have any question for our race winner today?
Well, let's talk a little bit about the strategy here. And there was a bit of a debate whether or not tires actually mattered at all here. Typically, at these super speedway races, the only reason you take tires is on pit exit. Did you find that taking new tires at all helped you on pit exit, or did you just only take fuel only basically on every single stop?
I took fuel and tires on every stop until the last one, and I could definitely feel it was pretty loose exiting pit lane. Luckily, it didn't completely go on me. I know my friend Calum, we were talking throughout the whole VC, like whole race. and he looped it on the last one by skipping tires. Yeah, definitely wanted to go on me when I was trying to keep up with the two in front of me, but luckily it didn't, and usually it could help out sometimes because some people may not take it and you'll get the advantage. Unfortunately, all three of us took it at the same time, but it still worked out in the end.
All right, I have one final question for you, John. You were leading the championship during this round, and with this win, you're going to increase the gap between you and second place. I guess now your mind is on now getting that championship for Alternate Autosport.
Yeah, it's definitely. I've never won a championship in anything. I actually don't often win races, so this is a good boost of energy. I know I'm gonna have to miss Auto Club and Road America because I'm going to the Indy 500 and qualifying. Hopefully that doesn't hurt me, but still, so far I've got only seconds and firsts, minus that 1/8 at Milwaukee. That one is an interesting story, but I'm not gonna talk about it here.
Okay.
But yeah, hopefully everything keeps going this way. Next up is Phoenix, not a track that I particularly like. And I'm gonna be sad that I'm missing Road America because I think I could beat a good amount of these guys on road courses, but it's not meant to be. So hopefully I can just keep going with the seconds and firsts.
All right, John. Well, final thing before you leave this commentary booth, if you have any shoutouts, be sure to make them.
First, I'm gonna shout out the guy that was messaging or talking to the whole race, Caleb Ford. He's learning the car pretty well, and hopefully he can start getting some good results in here. And then team sponsors, I don't have the list of my sponsors, but I know ALZ helps with Alzheimer's, does a lot of good charitable causes for it. Definitely look into that. And Bookly helps write stories for children. I believe those are. I'm sorry if I'm missing. I don't have a list on me right now.
Julian, how could you not have him a list of sponsors? How is it possible?
He got the paying ones, so those are the most important ones.
But you got the most important ones, so John, you get a slap on the wrist for this one, and we'll let you celebrate this race win. We'll let you celebrate this race win here at Talladega Superspeedway, and we'll see you next week at Phoenix.
All right, thank you.
Thanks to you, John Christensen. And for us, Caleb, I think it will be time here to sign off here from the Velocity Online Racing broadcast channel. We thank you all for coming here to watch this wonderful race here at Talladega Superspeedway. And as we said, next week, the next race, it will be at Phoenix International Raceway. We're going from a 2.66 mile track to a 1 mile oval. So this will be very interesting to follow. For the International IndyCar League, my name is Sebastien. I was with Caleb Brashear. Thanks to Julian Altena for directing this broadcast, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.